For decades, the Vietnam War has been a Hollywood obsession. Apocalypse Now, Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, First Blood. These were blockbuster films, embraced by audiences and critics alike. And for decades, they've helped us understand a painful war and understand each other. From Spotify and the Ringer Podcast Network, I'm Brian Raftery, and this is Do We Get to Win This Time? How Hollywood Made the Vietnam War. Listen on the Big Picture feed.
This episode is brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. All right, it's official. I think I've discovered the ultimate coupling of all time. Like any good relationship, they really balance each other out. One is super sweet, and the other, well, they can be a little nutty sometimes. It is, of course, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, the perfect combination of peanut butter and chocolate. So perfect, some would call it true love. Find Reese's now at a store near you. This episode is brought to you by Visible. Maybe you've already let your New Year's resolution slip. We all have, but you can still make a 2 years resolution with Visible. Right now, you can get a one-line wireless plan from Visible for just $20 per month for 24 months. 24 months is basically 4 Bachelor seasons. That could be 4 engagements, 4 broken engagements. So many other couples we didn't see coming. It's really an eternity in Bachelor Nation. And that's unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon with no annual contracts. Switch now at Visible.com and use the code VISIBLE24. Don't miss out. Offer ends January 31st. New members only. Promotional rate with service on the Visible plan. For additional terms and network management practices, see Visible.com. Welcome to Bachelor Party. I'm Juliet Litman. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by the one and only Mina Kimes. Mina, welcome to Bachelor Party. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I can't believe the season's almost over.
I know.
What a zoom it's been. What a rapid ride.
Mina, I love texting with you about reality TV, so I was delighted that you were able to make this work. We got it in right under the wire before football really kicks off. Did you watch Quarterback, Mina? I'm sorry to my Bachelor Party listeners. I bring it up constantly.
I've watched about half of it, and I enjoyed it. And I was delighted to see, I think it's been confirmed that Joe Burrow is on the next season.
Oh, yes, amazing.
Yes. I think I saw that. I don't want to fake news.
Cool.
Because there's been a lot of quarterbacks
declining,
turning it down, which, can I say, if you're a quarterback, you should do this show because they all come off great. And
definitely, Peyton Manning's not going to do you wrong. It's like in his interest for quarterbacks to look good. Anyway, just curious. I'll text you about that. Again, I'm really sorry. I bring it up constantly. There's something about it. I'm just like fixated on this television show. And like anyone who I can talk to about it, I will. But we're here today to primarily discuss The Bachelorette and charity season. And we're going to do that. But big news from yesterday, which is a hard launch. Gabby Windey, as in Gabby and Rachel, season 19 of The Bachelorette, hard launched her new relationship. And she is dating a woman comedian named Robby. And congrats to Gabby.
Yeah, as you know, I'm a patron of Bachelor Reddit. So I got this news very quickly because I'm constantly refreshing for gossip. Super happy for her.
Me too.
Dude, those guys, honestly, like, I don't know where the FBI recruits, but they need to start getting on there because they are so early on breakups. There's one they're talking about now, which we don't have to, speculate about.
Kayla and Jason.
Yeah. They've been all, like, they notice
everything.
The tiniest little things, and their hit rate is remarkable.
Bravo sleuthers are also very similar. There's a lot of, it really blew up a Scandival, but then anytime there's like, it's really breakup focused, which is, I guess, the crux of The Bachelor is like, are you together or not? Who will be together? Who was together? But I don't think anyone knew about Gabby and Robby. Robby Hoffman is Robby's full name, but it's great. I'm sort of curious, like, do you wish that Gabby, I was going to say, like, do you wish like Gabby had like talked about her sexuality on the show? But I don't even know if Gabby knew what she was looking for when she was on the show or who. It's fluid. I don't really have a big reaction to this other than like, I hope Gabby is happy. And I was like trying to make you have a big reaction to it, but I take it back because I don't know. Do we even need to have a reaction?
Well, I think my only reaction outside of happy for her and the girl's cute and seems like a good match.
They both seem goofy, yeah.
I've only met her once. It was at the Netflix premiere of Love is Blind season, the finale, pardon me.
Amazing.
And all the whole Bachelor gang was there. I met her briefly, and I'll just say that she was exactly how she seems on TV, which is to say delightful and very like goofy. Only thing I will say is, so now we've got like a pretty decent pipeline of the post-Bachelor career to coming out, right? Most notably Becca Tilly.
Yeah.
Because the Colton thing is so fraught because of just a million things with him and
Cassie.
Cassie, yeah, and some of the stuff he did.
Colton and Clayton are very hard to keep straight, so I understand why you said Susie.
Yes, they are hard to keep straight. Yes, so her allegations against him, which kind of got swept under the rug.
Only by Colton.
I don't know. You got to show, like, whatever. I don't want to get into the Colton thing. But, I think it's interesting, though, because, like, the only plot line in terms of non-hetero relationships that's really been featured on the show was Demi and Christian, which, on one hand, I thought was like done well in terms of like talking about Demi and her journey, but also they were so clearly in a relationship, and like it was the whole thing felt very fabricated by production on Bachelor in Paradise. So the show hasn't really spotlighted, to your original point about Gabby, homosexuality, bisexuality, queer relationships. And I think that would be the next step for me. It's like, okay, you've clearly, this is happening. Bring it into the show somehow.
Right. And especially, and Caitlin Bristow recently said in a podcast that she told the Bachelor psychologist when she was the lead that she was bi. And I believe she said that the psychologist like encouraged her to like not share that with the producers.
Wow.
And, that's like, I don't have more information on that, but but it's true. Like Colton, Becca, Caitlin, and now Gabby have all, talked about their sexuality after the show. And, you and I are both Love Island fans. I feel like the shows where there's just sort of a less rigid structure, like, and it's just sort of like a pool of people hanging out together by an actual swimming pool. I'm like, let's just be more fluid. I feel like people are more fluid. So I would love for them to show it. And I think that's happened on non-American shows like Love Island, Bachelor Australia. I think also Love Island Australia, if I recall correctly, where like heteronormative couples get together and just like, America, let's do it. I think we're ready.
Yes, 100%. I will do a quick recommendation for the Queer Ultimatum. I don't know if you caught that.
I haven't watched it, but many of my Ringer colleagues loved it.
It's so good. I mean, it is so appalling. The Ultimatum as like season 1 was even worse somehow.
Season 1, yes. I was obsessed with season 1. And there's something about the Love is Blind Ultimatum vortex that's just like intoxicating but horrifying. But I heard Ultimatum Queer Love is really good.
It's really good. It's really messy. Some of my lesbian friends were like, oh my God, now people are saying how we're just as bad. It's so messy. I really recommend it. Anyways, yes. So I agree with you. I'd like to see more on The Bachelor.
Also, I've heard that there's a really good UK show now, which is basically Love Island with gay men called I Kissed a Boy. So
oh my God.
Hopefully that will come to Hulu as well,
I am on it. I am so on it.
But anyway, best of luck to Gabby and her relationship, and I hope she's doing great. I hope everyone's doing great, honestly. We talk a lot about, Callie and I are kind of hard on Rachel, so I just also feel like I need to say I hope Rachel's doing great, whatever happy is for her. So let's talk about Charity. Mina, have you been enjoying this season? My first cue for you.
I always say yes when you ask me.
You're such a pure, you have such a pure love of the game. Of all the games from which you participate, you just love them so wholly.
I think a lot of it is just setting expectations at this point. And I think with The Bachelor, I've kind of gotten to the point where I just don't really expect them to mess with the formula or make interesting production decisions.
Well, that's interesting because they're real back to basics this season. So if your expectations are low, it's really meeting your expectations.
There's been things about the season that I've liked and things that I won't like. So I'll split the middle and be kind of political about it. I think that Charity got maybe the best group of men we've seen in a while. And I think that's really reflected in her final 3, all of whom I really like. And like, I think I texted you on the premiere and I was like, damn, a lot of real jobs going on here.
All real jobs.
So
I have to say, while that's true, 2 of her 3, I would say I'm not sure they have real jobs, but that's okay. Joey being a tennis pro. That's like a way of being, in my opinion, more than like a real job. But maybe that's his job for forever.
I have a lot of thoughts about that I think are inflecting kind of her skepticism right at this point. It's kind of hitting, and it hasn't been brought up, and we should talk about it.
Let's talk about it now. Yeah, what do you think's going on there?
Okay, so he was sort of the one she was questioning right in this week in the hometowns, and it was being positioned as all because of his Uncle Joe, I think his name was.
Yeah,
joining his
namesake.
Yes, the hallowed tradition of Bachelor relatives playing spoiler role for their own contestant family members. I think most notably Eric's sister.
Remember Dez's brother?
Yes, but there was one recently. It was an aunt who was like, just like a hater, like a true hater.
I think that might have been Eric's aunt, but I don't.
I heard, was it Eric? Was it Eric? No,
Eric seems like a trash human, but he's really hot. So I just kind of like not think about him because it's too much of an inner conflict for me.
Maybe it was Gabby's aunt? I don't know. There was someone's aunt who was, I don't know if you remember, she came in, she just hated so hard. It was incredible. Yeah. I can't remember now.
Anyways, remember that now.
It's a great tradition. And, he definitely played the role, and that was sort of the only real drama, right? In this.
Yes.
In the hometown dates. But I suspect.
What they were saying was like that you're not getting the real Joey. And
yes,
we don't know what that means. So what do you think that means, and what do you suspect?
I think that was just his uncle's way of saying Joey's just a pleaser, and he's telling you what you want to hear. I don't think it was like I know that he's been comped to Greg Grippo a lot. I don't think it was a Greg Grippo-esque. He's playing the game.
That's
he
so
wants to be famous.
No.
He wants to be Meryl Streep, whatever. They do look a little bit alike. But no, I think it was just more like this environment has made him act differently, which is a totally reasonable thing to say about people. Yeah.
But do you think his like Hawaii existence is impacting Charity?
Yes. So they haven't talked about it once, right?
I
know.
The
dude is a tennis instructor in Hawaii. Is she good? I mean, I imagine it'll come up next week, but I have to think that existence and the question of like
are you ready?
Or is she gonna move? Is he gonna move? Is this like has to be looming over her at this point, especially since the other two guys seem so stable, frankly.
I think Dotun is less stable than he seems, and I'm very pro Dotun, but
really?
Well, there's
like a healthcare job or something.
Well, that's what you can't quite name it. He's not a nurse. He's not.
He's an integrative medicine specialist.
He's a consultant. And I know this because at first I was like, oh, great. He's a doctor. And then I looked into it and I was like, no, he's not. And yet he is not. Like, he's also, do you watch Survivor?
I do not watch Survivor.
The guy who won most recently, or two times ago, Gabler, he was really intense about his job, and he's basically like a heart valve replacement technician. Like, he's part of the team in the operating room that is replacing. But like, that's a very specific job. Dotun does not have that kind of specificity. And I'm not trying to hate on Dotun. I think he seems great, and Charity's obviously picking him, so good. But I just don't think that he really has a real job either. Also,
I thought it was like the person who, when you're seeing a bunch of different doctors, like helps them work together or something. Anyways, I don't know.
I know. But I thought that too. Jody Walker burst my bubble on this one, and especially because I've like had like an integrated medical team before in my life, but those were like doctors working together, like a surgeon and a medical doctor. Like, he is like, I think perhaps involved in like supplements. I don't know. I also only know this mostly based on his AMA. So you were right. There's a lot of real jobs, but 2 of her 3, I think, are not real job havers.
Well, yeah. Tennis instructor in Hawaii is like the kind of job you come up with as a kid. I mean,
well, I support it.
Oh my God. Like, the dude that literally has to rank like top 5 on dream jobs, just if you want to like live a chill and cool, like a good life.
Totally. And he's 20, I think he's like 26 or 27. It's like, this is the time to do that. This is the time to go to Hawaii and be a tennis pro. And like, you can pivot. I don't judge him for it whatsoever, but is that a man who's ready to move back to the mainland and get engaged? I mean, or is she moving there? I don't think so.
You see how tan he is? That man's not moving back to the mainland. He is the guy who, if my parents took me on vacation when I was like in junior high to an all-inclusive resort and I signed up for one tennis lesson, then the rest of the trip, they'd be like, why are you taking tennis lessons literally every day instead of hanging out with our family?
100%.
So dreamy.
100%. And also, like, he has to be nice to you and friendly because he's your hotel's
so
tennis
cute.
pro. It's hard to believe there wasn't a tennis pro on White Lotus season 1, and I hope that Mike White is taking note.
Such a good character
for the future, because there definitely should have been. But yeah, it definitely hasn't come up. Also, like, in all the discussion about Joey, and they even played tennis when they went to Pennsylvania, like, there was nothing about like why he moved to Hawaii or how or like or all that. So I don't think that the specifics are not there. But yes.
He's got a very little backstory, by the way. Of the top 3, we know the least about him.
Absolutely. We know very little. We know about his dad, and I do think that's probably like foundational for him about like, you know, his relationship to his father and whatnot. And also just like what was something significant from like his formative years. But yeah, we know so little about him. I haven't even Googled if he played college tennis. I'm going to have to assume that he did. And if he didn't, I need this Hawaii tennis location to step up their standards.
By the way, speaking of what we talked about at the beginning, robbed of gay dads. Spent this whole season waiting to see these loving gay dads.
I know.
And instead we got mean Uncle Joe.
But his dad was there. He just didn't really have a big impact, which I guess is like fine. But Joey's
producers
family
knew what they had in the uncle.
Well, they had someone willing to play the game, and they're like, okay, cool, we'll go with that. Yeah, I just Joey's tennis life seems great and appropriate, but just not a fit for charity.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, he's got. Well, here's my question for you, Juliet.
Okay,
is it a fit for The Bachelor? Because he would seem to be the obvious Bachelor candidate. I think he's really cute. He's very charismatic. He seems earnest, but the premise of the show would they would have to talk about his career, where he lives, and you'd ostensibly have to find 30 women willing to move to Hawaii if he's planning on staying in Hawaii.
I think it would be great for the show because Callie and I kind of talked about this. Like, let's change the stakes. For Joey's season of The Bachelor, it's not about like, will they get engaged, but like, will you accept his lay? Double entendre. And like, will you move to Hawaii with him? Yeah, because that's like, that's
sign
like,
up.
Sure. That's way more realistic for people going on the show, right? Like it's still a huge life decision, in some ways, maybe bigger. Cause like, if you move, you're relocating yourself. Like it's like hard.
But then you're attracting like different kinds of women, like women who are like you don't really care about their jobs.
It's like, I telecommute, I work from home, or like whatever. Yeah. Or I would love to get like scuba certified and become a scuba instructor. I don't know. It changes the show a little bit, but I think that would be actually really cool. And there's a lot of speculation that he's being groomed for Bachelor, which
I'm torn.
I think it would be good. I just want them to stop getting engaged at the end. It's just really dumb. There's no point to it. I mean, it's like totally meaningless. Like, I'm sorry to Neil Lane, but like they could have a ring pop instead of a diamond ring, and like it would be the same.
Yes, I could not agree more. I guess maybe one concern maybe in production would be is if you take away the stakes of the forced engagement, do you lose the freakouts that come? Inevitably, one of the 4 guys is usually going to like have doubts about whether or not to get engaged. But if you take away those stakes, while you're much more likely to create a lasting relationship and set realistic, goals. Do you take away drama at the end? I think would be the issue.
I guess that you do, but I still think that people, just like the competitive nature of like, I want this guy would set in. So. Yeah, there's that.
And maybe they'd be more into it at the end if they knew they didn't have to get engaged.
That conversation about stakes, though, brings us to our shared favorite, the wonderful Xavier, the knitting wonder. I thought it was pretty interesting with him how much he was focused on like if his family thought he was ready. He clearly knows that he's not, but he's like looking for someone to tell him otherwise. And so he kept like probing his family and was so happy when his sister loved Charity, because he really wants it to work. And I gotta say, I want it to work because I love this man.
They are the couple who I think outside of the show makes so much sense to me. Yeah. Like if they were or if they were on Bachelor in Paradise. I think they would meet and then they'd be in a great relationship and they would date. And he's been a fascinating character because I truly believe she's just nervous because he's so good looking and like is worried about him being like an F-boy because just purely like he has well, she said he's reminded him of exes, which is kind of code for that to me.
I thought she was scared that he said because he said he wasn't ready. So that's pretty scary. Yeah. I think Dotun is by far the most handsome of this group. So like Xavier, yes, definitely.
I think Xavier is so handsome. I think he's gonna just rule Paradise.
Well, it's funny. I'm so curious who she would pick, like on a Love Is Blind scenario of this 4 in particular, because it's 4 really different personalities. Obviously, Aaron is now gone, but in a way, I could see like Aaron. If you're only talking to him through a wall, like in isolation, I could see a world in which she picks him because she felt so sad sending him home. And like, I think she really wanted to like him more. I liked his family a lot. And it felt very homey and comfortable. And I just curious, I just think it's so interesting. Like when you take some of the factors out, I mean, both shows are absurd, but for some reason with Charity in particular, because I feel like she's logical, but she's also in touch with her emotions. And she like really seems like she's interested in this, like working out for her. I would love to know who she would pick in a blind scenario.
Yeah, because she did end up with like arguably the 3 cutest guys of her batch, which is usually something that men do. Yeah, I think with Aaron, a lot of it was that, and you see this a lot with the show, the first date connection, where it's just really hard to let go of the first date. Yeah. And I think also he was just so obviously so into her that it was like a sure thing, which is also hard to walk away from. Like, I know if I go this route, we're going to get engaged. He's never going to, it's going to be fine. You know, he's not going to embarrass me or whatever. But he, to me, was the one personality that stood out. I think the final 3, actually, they're different for sure. Mm-hmm. But they're all chillers. Like,
he's definitely, he was in the drama. For me, it was the turtlenecks. I was like, that's a really bad sign. I knew it wouldn't be him.
I found him kind of unlikable the first much of the season, to be honest.
Yes, I was not a huge fan myself.
Yeah, and she really ended up with the 3 guys who just stayed out of it, super chill, which I think probably is her type. When you think about it, like it's hard for me to imagine her with like a big personality. It was funny, like the Brayden thing was so funny because I think she was just really sexually attracted to him, but like they seemed so incompatible. Like he was so intense, so high energy. And she ended up with like 3 fairly low energy guys, which is fine.
It's interesting you say that. I'm sort of like, what is her type? I don't even know. But I'm also like, maybe she just wants to sleep with all of them, like as many people as possible, which power to you, girl. So I don't know, but I thought she really felt pained over sending home Aaron B. Like she was like, oh, this sucks. Like I really wanted it to be him, but I don't know. I'm surprised Xavier's moving on. He just does not indicate in any way, even outside, like that he's like ready for hard commitment. But you're right. They make the most sense. They live in the same region. They're kind of like in complementary fields. Like they just seem like they should click, but she just seems crazy about Dotun. I mentioned this to Callie, but I thought that she seemed the most nervous about how Dotun's family felt about her versus with the other 3, she was really looking for the family to like give her the reassurance that like, yes, he seems ready. I thought that was a pretty notable difference. But do you like Dotun? I've weighed on him quite a bit. You have not.
I like him. Yeah. I think it seems like his interest in her is truly genuine. He's given me I've seen no red flags with him, no indications. I haven't seen anything on the Reddits that have made me apprehensive of him. I did think it was interesting, Juliet, that the producers flew in his family because normally, or I guess sometimes when I like kind of put myself in their shoes, I'm like, well, this thing seems so locked in and it's been locked in now for 4 weeks. Maybe you can create a little bit of doubt by not having her meet his parents, but they were like, nope, smooth sailing, baby. We are sending you, do not pass go. You are going straight to Neil Lane. And I thought that was, I guess they really want that like old fashioned love story.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't really think about that. Like if she hadn't met his family, would that have given her hesitation? Like, do they at this point just want her to pick Dotun so that they have Xavier and Joey to choose from? Yeah. Cause like, I don't know. I think Dotun and her seemed like a good choice, but I also was like, maybe they were coming back sooner. Like, who knows what the story is of that? But it is a good point. Like, they have sort of cleared the way for Charity and Dotun instead of like introducing obstacles, which you would think would be the more likely thing to happen.
They gave them the movie date, which is
always a good sign.
Always a good sign.
They had to reach out to their respective families to get pictures for that. Like,
yeah, like he's, I mean, also like the back-to-back one-on-one thing, which I believe was unprecedented in the history of the show. I believe so.
I was like, wow, they're really listening to her. Like, they must want the lead to be happy in a nice way, which I was surprised by.
They seem to like really like him and want him to win, is how I would say. Even like, I remember, I mean, look, Dotun himself deserves credit for like staying out. Like, I remember the scene where when Braden comes back and then gets into the like party bus and all the guys are like kind of following Aaron B. Dotun was like, whoa, I am the number one seed here. Like, do not bring me into this mess. I am staying out of it. And they showed that, which I thought was interesting. Yeah, I don't know. They seem, I feel like it is a mixture of things like this, in retrospect, assuming it plays out the way we think.
It's gotta.
Yeah.
Although, what do you think happens in Fiji that like rattles her so bad?
Well, they showed a guy returning.
I know, but I was like, is that her brother? I wouldn't be surprised if that was actually her brother or something.
I hope it's not Aaron.
Oh God, me too. Also, hope it's not Braden.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like they already did that. They can't have him come back a second.
It's not a white guy. I think they showed the guy, but they didn't show
okay.
Yeah. I mean, but I think she's just rattled because she really likes them all. Like, I think it's going to be really hard for her. Like, I think we're probably going to get a pre-rose ceremony goodbye.
Yeah.
Which is how you get those drama shots.
Yeah.
I think that it seems likely it's going to go Xavier, Joey, and like, I think the Joey rejection is going to be brutal.
He'll be okay. Do you think he's a fuckboy? This is a big debate. Do you think Joey's a fuckboy? Or let me put it a different way, because I don't want to have any judgment. Do you think that Joey is hooking up with a ton of different women in his tennis professional life in Hawaii?
I can't tell, because a lot of it is like stereotyping, like he's really good looking, the job. But I don't. Okay, so I think he's beating the Grippo allegations. And because I remember watching Grippo with Katie, and I remember just feeling like he is saying what she wants to hear. I don't know. I just had that like profound, not to say he is like that in his whatever life, but I just didn't buy it. And I actually buy it with Joey. Like, I actually think he's really into her in a way that feels...
He seems like a good dude. Yeah, in a way that Greg didn't really. You're just like, what's up with this guy? Yeah.
Yeah. And I haven't seen anything on the various socials. I've avoided spoilers this season, but I haven't seen anyone say anything. So
there are many fewer spoilers. You brought up Reddit before. I feel like Bachelorette is just not the vibrant landscape it used to be.
They're not finding stuff right now.
So they're not finding stuff. I just feel like maybe it's a smaller community, or
it's definitely smaller. Like, the action is down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
My favorite thing is the live threads during the shows, because I find they're funnier. They're funnier than like Twitter to me.
Sure, of course.
But the number of comments is way down. So but that's kind of like reflecting
the ratings are way down. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I maybe I'm a sucker, but he seems pretty genuine to me.
He does. I agree.
I'm very embarrassingly watching season 2 of The Summer I Turned Pretty, which is a tween show.
You know, I'm not sure that's embarrassing. Many women of our age and generation I know are watching it. Something about me has changed where I can no longer watch tween and teen television and like as it's new. Like, I couldn't finish Never Have I Ever. I couldn't finish Ginny and Georgia. I couldn't finish like a lot of those shows, whereas I used to have like just an insatiable appetite for them, but I just can't anymore. But I wish that I was there. So Mina, please tell me what you were going to say.
Well, he just feels like he should be on that show. Like, it kind of goes back to the joke I made about my parents taking me on vacation. He just feels like a guy who, when you were like 19, thought was like the perfect man.
Totally.
And that's not a dig.
I recently Googled my tennis teacher from when I was like 13, and I was devastated because he was so hot at the time. I mean, he was like, I don't know, like 22 or whatever. I used to take tennis lessons, and I just feel like having a crush on your tennis instructor, if you play tennis, is a rite of passage.
And it's his vibe, his look, everything about him.
He's so laid back.
I don't know.
He's so Hawaii.
Yes. Right. Whereas while I was watching, because I watched the day later, the knitting date, What did I sent you some really inappropriate text.
You texted me the gif of a Jenner being like, and then I was pregnant. And it's true.
And I'm already pregnant.
I love Xavier. I mean, he's perfect. He's like a classic why are you on the show kind of guy. Like, how does he how does he have time for this? How does he have interest? I don't know. He just seems so great. The knitting circle was also, I think,
2 hours of that.
Also unprecedented. I absolutely loved it. I love Xavier. I have no notes on him. He's perfect.
The knitting thing also, I feel like with other guys who have been the show would have been like a fake hobby or like, oh, he's really into knitting. You see that week
there was
one.
a close-up of him doing a stitch. He knows what he's doing.
Every week it becomes more apparent that there is nothing fake about this man's commitment to knitting. I mean, when I think it was some point in the season, you could see he had like a little knitted pocket square that
he's the best.
Look, knitting is not a personality, but when a man does it, it kind of is. So
yeah, it definitely is. It's unexpected because how many men do you know that knit? Moreover, he was doing it on the bus. Like that bus shot of him doing it will stick with me for forever. And I just think it speaks to him being like an evolved human. Like he's someone with like coping mechanisms and interests and hobbies. Like, I'm like, this is dope. I love this guy.
Committed.
Yes. This episode is brought to you by eBay Authenticity Guarantee. eBay knows that when it comes to jewelry, authenticity is the real gem. When you see the blue check mark that says Authenticity Guarantee, it means your next piece will be carefully inspired by jewelry experts and will always be worth its weight in gold. Whether you're looking to make a statement or build the perfect everyday look, eBay is making sure you get the real deal. With eBay Authenticity Guarantee, you can trust that jaw-dropping piece will always arrive jaw-droppingly real. Ensure your next purchase is the real deal. Visit ebay.com for terms. This episode is brought to you by Visible. Maybe you've already let your New Year's resolution slip. We all have, but you can still make a 2 year's resolution with Visible. Right now, you can get a one-line wireless plan from Visible for just $20 per month for 24 months. 24 months is basically 4 Bachelor seasons. That could be 4 engagements, 4 broken engagements. So many other couples we didn't see coming. It's really an eternity in Bachelor Nation. And that's unlimited 5G data powered by Verizon with no annual contracts. Switch now at Visible.com and use the code VISIBLE24. Don't miss out. Offer ends January 31st. New members only. Promotional rate with service on the Visible plan. For additional terms and network management practices, see Visible.com.
So, okay, wait, let me ask you this. First of all, maybe he should be the Bachelor. I don't want to. We've been.
Doesn't feel like he's getting the Bachelor treatment because if he was, they would not be focusing in on his lack 100%. Of readiness. They would be like needing to focus in on his potential heartbreak.
I also think he's a little too chill, whereas like Joey is much more like earnest, like ready for TV, doing what the producers want. If he's on Paradise, is there anyone you would like to see him with?
Wow. I don't know. Someone else with a great job. Someone else with like
picky. I'm real picky for a guy.
Oh my God.
From like, Zach's season, I guess this is going to be filled with Zach Shawcross's.
And also season. I think Clayton. I don't know. No one's like springing to mind, honestly. Who's on his level? Yeah. Maybe some of the lawyers we've had in the past or the other like scientists, like a Kira type, but not Kira.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any girl that I really loved from Zach's season.
Oh my God. We barely got to meet any of them. It was like all about Gabby and Katie, and I don't even remember who else there was. But Zach season's a blur to me. I've reached the point in my life where it's a little bit harder for me to retain everyone's name. And I don't feel good about it, but it's where we are.
Okay, here are some of the girls from season 19. Oh, no, he was on, sorry, pardon me. He was
season 38, I believe. Isn't that sick?
Okay,
so many bachelors.
Obviously, oh, hey, Ariel?
I don't think so.
Yeah, Kat, Brooklyn, Greer. None of these girls are good enough for...
No, absolutely not. Sadie, to all of these people. For our guy, protect Xavier at all costs. Let's get him someone good.
I'm looking at this list and no one's really jumping out to me as a winner.
So Xavier, maybe you have to date like a regular person. I don't know. Or maybe they need to create a special dating show for him. There should be dating people for like exceptionally smart people. And it's like some kind of like IQ test to be on it. And he would pass. I don't know. He's great. Also just like loved his family. His sister seemed like she was really like vibrant, and I don't know. They seemed great. Also, he's always wearing a vest, which I think is funny, is another kind of like nerdy thing about him that he makes seem cool.
He had that fuzzy cardigan.
Yes.
Was that this last episode?
Week. But he was wearing a black vest in Cleveland, and that was adorable. I don't know. I just love this man.
I will say, I do feel like, so the season has zoomed by.
Yes.
Which for better or worse, in some ways,
it is both a shorter period of time and fewer episodes. So that is correct in every way.
Despite that, I do feel like I've gotten to know him and Dotun.
Yeah.
A decent amount, because, you know, they really, it's been like a top heavy season. Like, I feel like they've lingered on the front runners.
The top 6 got a lot more airtime than anyone else, plus Brayden.
Yeah. Plus Brayden. I do think it's not going to be memorable to me as like one of the truly great seasons, because they're just not enough drama. Brayden didn't last long enough. He wasn't like a real villain in the traditional
self-eliminated
Bachelor
in
sense.
a good way.
Yeah,
like I agree with you. It's zooming by. I think it's overall good. I mean, Charity is an excellent lead. Like, she's very good at talking to the camera. She's the right amount of bubbly and earnest. She's very pretty. Like, it's just she's a really solid lead. Like, she's as good as it gets in this role. She's not messy at all. Like, you know, you think about the other kind of, to me, the seasons that stand out are the really messy ones. And that's like Ali Fedotowsky, Caitlin Bristow, Hannah Brown. And those 3 women were a mess. And I can visualize their mascara running down their face.
My favorite seasons are the ones where the villain goes really far. I think when I think back onto like, I don't know, or where it's like they're not, maybe even like Ben Flonix is, you know,
it happens a lot more with The Bachelor because men are stupid.
Yeah,
but seriously, like Tiara on Sean Lowe's season.
Tiara, iconic, lost her sparkle. I would say Wes on it was Jillian's season. That's a real throwback.
Yeah,
the guy who famously in his limo exit said, "I'm the only guy there for the wrong reasons who made it to top 4," or something like that. It was the only villain who made it to top 4. I don't know what he said, but it was incredible.
Yeah, and
that is entertainment.
Luke on Hannah Brown was Final 4. I mean,
and she was into him, and that's,
big time.
I just feel like that's such a important component to a really great season.
I agree with you. I agree, and also Jillian wasn't. I love Jillian. I love her on HGTV. She wasn't messy, but she was sort of like, she was saucy. You know?
And she like had the whole, like, she liked Ed, then he left, and Reed, who is probably one of my all-time favorite contestants, male or female ever. The realtor from Philadelphia.
So good.
I'll just check in, see what he's doing. You know, he's still selling houses. So wearing those cute little glasses. Shout out Reed. Yeah, it was drama until the end. And I think this is going to, like I said, if it does go down as one of those like JoJo Jordan type seasons where it's like, well, this was a wrap for a while.
We knew it was going to happen.
I'm happy for her.
Me too.
I'm happy for him. He seems great. But, you know, we got to be honest about what we want when we come to the show.
That's why I think the fall programming with Golden Bachelor on Mondays and Paradise on Tuesdays is going to be so good. And I do think people are like particularly excited about Golden Bachelor. So
I'm so excited about it.
It's a real iteration on the idea. So it'll be great.
I cannot wait for the contestant reveal.
I have no idea what's going to be like. Like, how are these women going to dress? Like, what's the aesthetic going to be? Like, that's such a big part of The Bachelor. Is like, what's the style? So I can't wait to find out.
There's an age minimum, right? I think I saw that.
I had read that it was 65, and then I read it was like lowered to like 60. But even so, there is a minimum. Like, there will not be people with a 5 or less on the show. You know,
that was my only concern. I did not want to see
like a 45-year-old and like
competing with a 60. Like, that just would have been gross to me. And
I don't think anyone would want that, honestly. Like, does anyone on this earth want to watch like a intergenerational like fight over a man amongst women? I don't want to see that amongst men either. It's just like gross.
Same.
So like for like, I'm very excited. It's great. We're going to do a quick 5 minutes on Love Island season 10. Do you like this season?
I do.
Mina doesn't know who won, everybody.
I don't know who won. I'm too off the end. And I think it's been a really weird season because of the like lack of true romance and the obvious palpable hatred between so many of the contestants. But I have enjoyed it. I think that this is, I'll say this, and I've seen about 6 seasons, I think, at this point. I think this is the best produced season of Love Island. Because usually in the back 10, it gets so boring.
Yeah.
It's like you got the established couples.
That's why the Grafties was so
dates
smart.
are just so stupid. And I think that they've avoided that, not in part because of the uncertainty and the fact that there aren't established couples, but also with a lot of really good choices by the producers, the way they've structured eliminations, the introduction of like new things like the awards with the clips and stuff. Bachelor producers, please take note. These people know what they're doing. Like they mix, like the show is a huge hit, but they're not afraid to break up the formula. And I think they deserve a lot of credit for that.
Although I will say this is, I think it's waning in the United Kingdom. Well, I think it's rising here, but it's been great. I love Mitch. Messy Mitch is my guy. I don't ever like want to meet him, and I don't like condone any of his behavior, but man, is he good television. He's given us so much. His behavior of the Grafties was like honestly out of The Office. It was kind of like if Michael Scott was on Love Island.
I bring him on to Bachelor in Paradise, please. Let's crowdsource Mitch coming to.
That's a great
idea. He would
idea.
shake up. He's really good looking. Like I think he would be.
His personality is so unappealing. It's so like clownish that I do not find him attractive at all. Plus, he wears the mark of a handsome man to me on Love Island is how they wear the sneakers that are available to them. So basically, like Jordans and New Balance 550s, and Mitch looks really bad in the Jordans. But whereas like Ron, like also was like clearly a nerd, but he looked so good in the New Balances that I was very into him.
I was a big Ron fan too.
He's
super
back
Ron
on the
stan.
market.
I know, sad. I'm actually sad about that.
Me too. One of the problems for me with a lot of these guys is I'm just like, oh, they always want to play golf all the time. Just like so annoying.
They really do. Yeah, I know. When
so
you get into
English.
Love Island, you learn so much about English culture and like influencer culture over there, and like the kind of things that they do. It's all so. They're also all their socials are just they suck. Like
it's a lot of golf for the men.
Well, and for the women, it's literally just selfies, and it's like for the British reality, and like it's not like them with their friends or doing stuff. It's really boring.
I know,
but otherwise, I love the show. As you know, I have enjoyed. There's been some great moments this season. I mean, you know, what is Ty and Bigwit's rap?
It's even bad bitch. Oh my God, I love it. I was like, Callie, can you send me some TikToks? And I've just been watching people like do like the sound thing with that song, including Maya Jama. Maya has a great one, and so does Catherine. She did one as well. It's so. I might need to post some of them. That's not really my style, but I love. It's like the raps that come out of Love Island are some of my favorite songs of the decade. So I don't know if that's saying about me and music, but that's where we are.
Maya Jama, so much better of a host
than Laura,
than any of ours. I was going to say.
Did you know there was the rumor that she was dating Devin Booker
post Ben Simmons? Wow.
Yes, I know.
Upgrade, basketball wise and look wise, I would say.
Yeah, but it's just funny because Kendall Jenner dated Ben Simmons and then Devin Booker. So Devin Booker, what are you doing? But I don't know if it's true. I asked Callie to find out. Mina, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a delight to have you on Bachelor Party. I feel honored that you were able to do it. And Callie and I will be back on Monday, and I hope everybody has a great weekend.